Mint is one of those herbs that a lot of us have grown up with and really love it, but it's actually one of the easiest herbs that we can grow. There's so many varieties out there and so many different uses for it. But one thing to be a little bit conscious of is it does like to run around, so often best grown in a container. Mint will really enjoy quite an open, free draining compost. Most peat-free compost that you can buy will give you those kind of properties. If you've got a very heavy soil, you might want to add a little bit of grit for extra drainage, particularly during the winter months. Mint will grow quite happily in a moist position during the summer, but can rot off if it's exposed to waterlogged conditions for a long period of time during the winter. So while we're here with this particular plant, there's no reason why we can't take a few of these cuttings, because mint is very vigorous and will soon recover from this pruning. So again, I'll just go below a leaf joint, remove some of those lower leaves, either by pulling them off or with a pair of scissors if they're a little bit larger. The most important thing is not to have any foliage within the water. Pop that in the glass. One more. So once you've taken a few cuttings, they're best positioned on a light windowsill, not in any sort of intense midday heat, because remember, these young plants haven't got any roots, so that kind of intensity might cause them to deteriorate. Within a couple of weeks, you should start to see some roots that are appearing from the leaf joints and up and down the stem. Once there's a reasonable amount of root, they can then be transferred into that pot of peat-free compost and watered well. As soon as you start to see some of those roots come through the bottom of the pot, that's a great indication that the plant is big enough to go out into a larger container in the garden for the rest of the year. Mint are really quite hardy plants, but what they really dislike is the cold and the wet combination. So if you can, with a container of mint, just bring it in to a cool greenhouse or up against a south-facing wall or somewhere where it can get protection from the worst of that winter wet. It will bounce back and be ready to go again next year. Mint is really easy to get hold of and easy to grow. But if you're worried about where you can get hold of your mint from, most supermarkets will sell potted mint in the fruit and vegetable sections. There's no reason why we can't give this a go, really. Once we've taken cuttings, another way to sort of increase the amount of mint that you're growing at home is through division. What you'll notice with your pot of mint is there'll be a sort of natural split in the clump. It might even be that there are 2 or 3 cuttings within the pot that you can then capitalize on by dividing. Take it out of the pot and water it well. Water it well before you split it, because we're going to do some damage to these young roots. The fact that it's fully hydrated will help it transition into its next pot. So simply get your fingers and hands and prise that mint open. So each young plant has got enough shoots and enough roots to sustain itself as an individual plant. Take a small container of peat-free compost and remove some of the top layers and pop your mint in the center of the pot. On this particular occasion, it wants to go slightly deeper than the level before for stability as well as anything else. And backfill around the root ball, making sure you leave no air gaps and firm it down. We don't want any air pockets in the root ball, because if there are any air pockets, that means that roots can't grow in that space, so you're not making full use of the pot. That can be watered well and put outside in the garden on a sunny windowsill, water well, and then pot it on when it gets to a certain size. There's absolutely no reason why you can't take a few more cuttings in a few weeks too. Mint has to be one of my favourite plants to grow. It's got so many different uses. Just to demonstrate how dangerous it can be as well, mint is definitely one of these plants that wants to take over the world given half a chance. And you can see with these stems that are coming around the pot that they're ready to grow out and root and increase the size of the clump very quickly. So by growing them in a container, we're definitely curtailing the mint a lot more, and these shoots can just be snipped off to keep it within its container. But just a word of warning about releasing it into your garden and the open ground. If you want to get more adventurous and look at different types of mint that you can grow, this is one of my favorite mints to grow. It's black peppermint. It makes the most delicious tea, and simply putting a sprig into a cup of boiling water gives you most delicious tea, helps with digestion. You can also use mint as a cut flower foliage. Mint is very vigorous, and contained will send up lots of lovely shoots which can complement other cut flowers, and you'll find that mint continues to grow when it's in a vase as well and lasts for a tremendous amount of time. Finally, we've got the attraction for the bees. Pollinators absolutely adore mint. You'll see it awash with bees and pollinators, and those flowers are edible too, so we can enjoy them as well.